What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. We're trying a new series. It's obviously the All-Star break now, and we've got, fantasy football on the horizon. We kind of did a little bit of this last year, but if you are new to the channel, whether or not you're playing DFS, sports betting, a fantasy football, fantasy baseball, NASCAR, PGA, whatever you're doing, we're going to try a new series. So if you've never been to the website before, maybe you've just stumbled across this video, welcome to the channel. Normally, we specialize more in DFS and daily fantasy sports of all kinds, but fantasy football is one of our best sports, one of our favorite sports on the site. And what we're going to do is we're going to dig into every single team, all 32 teams. We're going to look at just some statistics on the team itself. Then we're going to dig into the actual fantasy impactful player. So we're going to do offense. We're not going to do kickers. We're not going to do defense. We're not going to do the defenses or IDP. So we're just going to do like quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends. We're going to do it that way. Running backs, obviously, as well. So hopefully you guys stick around. We're going to start. We're just going to go down the list. We're going to do every single team in 2025. We've obviously got mini camps starting. They've already been going. In a couple of weeks, we'll have the first preseason game going on. And then we're still waiting on, roster cuts. We're still waiting on inevitable injuries during preseason of hopefully not impactful players for us, but players on the team. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to kind of look at some information. This article you see right here on the screen is the article. So you'll be able to find all of these articles on the website. Just go to NFL tab. And if you click into it, it's going to take you to our NFL tab. Once we get all of these in there, you'll obviously see some of the things that we are looking for, but once we put out all of the articles, they will flood into the NFL. So I just kind of wanted to bring that to your guys' attention. We're going to do 2025 Arizona Cardinals fantasy football preview. So looking at this, we know that, honestly, I feel this is going to be Kyler Murray's make or break season. Okay, so we come in, he's been in the league for 7 years, obviously had a knee injury a couple of years ago, 2023. Came back last year. In that, he had 297 fantasy points. So it depends. Some people do half point PPR. Some people don't do any PPR. Some do full point. You can do FanDuel, DraftKings, Yahoo, all of these. We're just going to break it down. We're going to look at them. We're going to look at the preseason rankings. This is before any injuries have occurred. And we're hopefully going to help you guys break down the entire system. So 32 teams. In theory, I would like it done in 30 days. We will see. But stick around, make sure you hit that bell notification. And if you guys do play some other fantasy sports, check out everything we have here on the channel. So just kind of looking at some of the Cardinals' stats in 2024. Not a good record, 4-13. And looking at that, offensive rank, 12th in scoring, 11th in total yards. Defense, bottom tier in pressure and efficiency. So just kind of looking at this, head coach Jonathan Gannon is in it. I believe he's entering a crucial year after a disappointing 2024. Both he and Kyler are pretty much under pressure here. We're going to see. It's going to make or break. We're going to see what we've got. The offense last year did show power, but they did finish middle of the pack in scoring, but a lack of pace of play and deep shots down the field when you have Marvin Harrison Jr. That really kept the majority of this team outside of Trey McBride kind of limited last year. Obviously, hopefully everyone comes in healthy. We get through a great preseason. I know most impactful players aren't going to see the field more than a few snaps. So that's what we're looking at. So last year, just kind of looking at fantasy value of Kyler Murray from last year. He finished his QB 10 last year thanks to his leg. So we were kind of concerned going into the season whether or not his knee was going to be a problem. He racked up over 570 yards rushing and 5 rushing touchdowns. Passing's where he has so many weapons around him, he just didn't utilize it enough. Passing wasn't so great last year. Only 2 games with more than 1 passing touchdown and almost no deep passing attempts, which makes no sense with what you drafted last year. His arm didn't match his rushing production at all. Maybe year 2 here with Marvin Harrison Jr., him being a little bit more comfortable with his leg injury from a couple of seasons ago. Maybe he's 100% now. Maybe they've changed the game plan a little bit. Maybe that's what we're going to look at here. So then we look at his receivers and the target. So Marvin Harrison Jr. was expected to pop off immediately, but low passing volume held him back. Tight end Trey McBride quietly became the go-to underneath route, meaning where everyone drafted Marvin Harrison real early. Trey McBride kind of, not as early. Dump off passes, screen passes, get and go. Just exactly what you needed there. So obviously tight ends are a little bit a smaller sample size and player pool than having all the wide receivers and running backs. But that's kind of what we're looking at. Trey McBride, solid tight end TN1 going here, especially in PPR formats. Absolutely love the volume that he was getting last year. I think, here's the thing. Some people like to do the stacking approach. It's huge in DFS. Fantasy football, there's been some times where I've seen Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce go. Patrick Mahomes or wide receiver one, whoever that is, if they've ever had, when they have a actual wide receiver one. But, the past couple of years have been a little bit different. But I think if you can get Trey McBride and Kyler Murray, that's great. But again, it comes with some chances there. Obviously, you got to draft them and you got to be able to get them. If you have back-to-back, obviously you're not if you have the last pick in some of the rounds, it would make sense if he's still there. But if you have the middle of the pick, say you're in a 12 team and you got 6 pick first round, you come back, you go all the way back around, might be kind of hard to get them. It just depends on obviously the format of your league. So looking at kind of the 2025 outlook here, 2025 I believe is a turning point. Kyler's ADP right now is around QB9, and Sportsline projects him to outperform Mahomes in total fantasy points, which I could definitely see. It just depends on what you're going to get out of Mahomes. Obviously, the team overall is great. Lately, a lot of people took Travis Kelce pretty early. A lot of disappointments there. The team obviously made it to the Super Bowl, but there's just some teams have so many different options to throw to, run to, hand off, that it could go down. So I honestly could see Kyler outperforming Mahomes. Now, a couple of years ago, if you'd have told me that, I probably would have called you crazy. But it obviously depends on one thing: passing. We need Kyler to pass the ball way more than he did last year. If the Cardinals do let him air it out while keeping the rushing floor, so if he can keep his same floor of, let's say, 500 rushing yards, but he can add on to his passing yards with the weapons that he has around him, I think this could be a league winner. So we look at that. High risk, high reward QB1 with a top 5 upside is what I see Kyler this year. Obviously, game plans, everything. Strength of schedule, we will talk about that. It's not the best strength of schedule, okay? So those are kind of the differences there. Obviously, strength of schedule can change because injuries happen throughout the preseason and the beginning of the season. And by the time they play Team X, someone might be hurt. That could obviously jump up there. But as of right now, July 14th, the strength of schedule, Arizona is ranked 27th out of 32 with a 457 win percentage right now. Now, not ideal. Obviously, they have to build on what they had last year. They have to change a lot of things. But that is kind of where I look at a little bit of preview of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, here's where we're going to dig in even more to look at them. So we're going to look at each team. We're going to look at the players, both sides, whether or not you're playing DFS later, whether or not you're going to get into our fantasy team advisors, DraftKings yearly league, each week, or weekly league, I should say. We've got everything for you. Let's dig in. So we're looking at Kyler, QB number 1, obviously on this team. He's currently preseason QB9, which, again, like I said, I top 5 upside if they air the ball out. So we can kind of look at this. Game logs, you can go through each game log. You can go through each season. You can kind of see 2020 and 2021 had his best seasons there. Obviously, 2020 was a little bit different. The way everything else was going, I understand that. But we've got Kyler in there. Jacoby Brissett obviously is QB2. We're not going to worry about him right now. We're going to act like Kyler's invincible and he's not going to get hurt again. And that's exactly what we could look at. So we look at that. Kyler obviously is in that spot. He's your QB1. I think he has top 5 upside if they let him air it out. Now, we go into the running backs. James Conner, Trey Benson, DeMarcado, DJ Dallas, and Michael Carter currently on the roster. Obviously, the ones that make sense, James Conner and Trey Benson being starter and second string. But DeMarcado came in a ton last year when we were not expecting him. So obviously, we're going to look into these. So we look at James Conner, RB1 on this team. Currently, overall, he's RB16. Getting up there in age, it says 9 seasons in the league. He's 30 years old, up there in age. He's old for a running back, I should say. It has trended down a little bit for him. Even with the game, running instead of throwing, you're always a little bit leery because you got Kyler who runs the ball a ton. So that does take away from some of his running backs. You got dump off passes as well. You could always look at that. So you look at that, and just like his receivings, the targets, they did average right about 5. Started off slow, then got about 5 there. The touchdowns were what was not so good in receiving. So he had 1 receiving touchdown last year, compared to what he had the year before, which was 2. So he's not known as a pass catching back. So 3 down back, then comes in DeMarcado, comes in Trey Benson, just depending on who's going to come in there. So we'll look at Trey Benson a little bit too. This will be his second season. Coming in last year, 63 attempts, 291 yards, 1 touchdown. Only had 6 total targets, no touchdown there. Did have 1 fumble last year. So you look at that, the yardage, it just depends. It depends on what James Conner health is going to be. Depends on what the game script is going to be, strength of schedule. All of that plays a part there. So currently right now, Trey Benson comes in as an RB50. So you look at that, and you're obviously going to, you're not going to draft him as an RB1. You're going to draft him as Connor's handcuff as of right now. Now, with season long, yeah, that's great. It just depends. He's obviously the handcuff there. DeMarcado, unless you get through half the season, then he's a waiver wire pickup. I could see that. But he's more of a DFS only pick, and it's very few and far between there. 2 years ago with Arizona, had 2 touchdowns rushing, no touchdowns through the air, but had 119 receiving yards. He's that third down back that's going to get those dump off passes, get those screen passes, and take it. Last year with Arizona in 13 games, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, 16 receptions on 20 targets for 104 yards. So, you're getting about 110 to 115 yards average, unless something changes here. So that's kind of what you're looking at. That's as far down as you would go. DJ Dallas, unless he jumps up to number 2, might not even make the team. Michael Carter, kind of another thing. They're not draftable right now. But maybe something happens and we got to pull those guys back for DFS purposes, or you get them on waivers later. I wouldn't go that deep into the game, though, right now. And then we can get into the wide receivers. You got wide receivers left, right, and you've got Zay Jones, number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Michael Wilson. Then you've got the other guys. Greg Dortch is probably the one that you would trust the most there, but it's Trey McBride that's going to probably take you with the majority, unless, they've got to air it out. That's kind of where we're at. So let's take a look at the 3 starting wide receivers for this team. So we got Zay Jones coming in. This will be his, he's been here for 9 years. He looks like Russell Wilson. Never noticed that before. Currently, right now, Zay Jones is wide receiver 133. Not a ton of value to have there. Kind of bounced around back and forth. 2 years with Buffalo, 3 with Las Vegas, 2 with Jacksonville, last year with Arizona. In his first year with Arizona, 11 games played, he was averaging 1.5 fantasy points a game. Not ideal. Didn't play the first 6 weeks of the season. Really was not impactful at all when he was in the game. So let's put it that way. Last year, not ideal. 11 total targets, 84 yards. That's it. There's a reason. I probably right now, unless something drastic happens, Zay Jones is not even an afterthought in a draft for me. I don't know what would have to happen for him to be in the back of my mind. Marvin Harrison Jr. is obviously the number 1 wide receiver on this team. Currently wide receiver 20. Last year played 17 games, 62 receptions, 116 targets, 885 yards, 8 touchdowns. Those numbers look great. They were. It wasn't exactly. It wasn't what we were looking for when he was drafted so high last year. Okay. So we do look at this, and he had a couple of games where we thought, like, first game, everyone was all over him. The matchup was great. I remember going in here, I was in the grocery store. The game, I believe this was a back-to-back game, or back and forth game. Let me check real quick. Yeah, it's exactly what I remember. It was back and forth. Arizona went up, and then they went up 17. Then it was Buffalo coming back, climbing back. Then Buffalo just started going, and it was just a back and forth. Very high-scoring game to start the season. Kyler 162 passing yards. What was going on? The game was back and forth. He didn't throw it. That's the problem. He had rushing yards, though. He had 57 rushing yards in that game. So that's kind of what we were looking at. And then Josh Allen was the one. Didn't throw as much as we'd like, but 2 touchdowns there. So just a back and forth game. And that's what we were expecting. And he, right there, 4 yards on 3 targets. Marvin Harrison, we were like, what's going on? So people weren't using him the second week. And then he went off against the Rams, 130 yards. People are back on him. And then he didn't eclipse more than 70 yards until week 17, where he got 96 yards. In there, he had 1 fumble for a loss. He had 8 touchdowns total on the year. If healthy, and they changed the game plan to throw, Marvin Harrison Jr. would not surprise me if he ends up as a wide receiver, top 10 wide receiver this year. Again, it's all going to be what are they going to do with the passing. And then the third one you're looking at is Michael Wilson. Be his 3rd year into the league. Been with Arizona both times. Last year, 16 games played, 47 receptions on 71 targets, 548 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing attempt for 7 yards, 1 fumble for a loss. So you look at that. Didn't really have a huge game here. Very struggled. Got 78 yards in 1 game here through the air. Rushing 1, and he did not even have a rush to the last game of the season against the Rams. Probably he's right now wide receiver 65. I think he stays that way. The kind of dark horse here where people aren't kind of really talking about him, Greg Dortch, is kind of one of those where comes in, he's wide receiver 102, be his 5th season, be his 5th season with Arizona, 6th season total. Kind of outlier there as well. Had 7 touchdowns, quiet touchdowns there. Biggest game he had 60 yards here through the air on December 15th. No touchdown, though. Had 2 touchdowns to end the season against San Francisco. 4 for 4 with 47 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's probably more so a backup wide receiver if things happen to the starters. Probably more, hey, let's just use Dortch in DFS if we're going with a full type of stack against whatever team they're playing. And then the final one that you would look at to target is Trey McBride. He's tight end too, like he dominated. He's going to go very early, I believe. This will be his 4th season with Arizona. Has that contract now. Last year, 16 games, 111 receptions on 147 targets, over 1,100 yards. The thing is, he had only 2 touchdowns last year. That's what was so frustrating. He would go through there. He'd have 124 yards here versus Miami, no touchdown. He would have 133 yards against Seattle, no touchdown. Wild. He did have a touchdown there against Chicago, was a rushing touchdown. It just made no sense what we were seeing. I think they're going to realize that Trey McBride, the first 16 weeks, no touchdowns. Had the yardage, didn't have a touchdown till the end of the last 2 games. One against the Rams, one against San Francisco. Still preseason, tight end 2. I think everything buckles up. I think Kyler Murray makes sense. I think you want to stack him with Trey McBride there. That's kind of just a slow intro into what we want to do here with everything DFS, fantasy. Let me know. I know it's kind of early. Some of you have already been drafting or you've done some mock drafts. So I would love to know how many mock drafts you guys have done, if you guys have actually drafted. If you want to get into a weekly DraftKings league, maybe $5 entry per week, top 3 win for DFS purposes, would love to get something going. We had it a couple years ago, haven't had it for a bit, but I would love to see what you guys would like to see. So Kyler Murray, I love Kyler Murray. If he can stay healthy, if they get the game plan in there where he continues to run as much as he did, but also throws about twice as much as he did last year, would love to see that as well. So I feel comfortable with Kyler Murray. The running back situation's a little bit more murky. James Conner and Trey Benson makes sense to me. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the only wide receiver that I trust 100% in this team. And then obviously Trey McBride as well. So we look at this. We want to see him run more. We want to see him throw more. We want to see the Cardinals have a better year than they did in 2024. I think they're going to game plan perfectly. Shrink the schedule will be kind of something to look at. It's not the best for them right now, but things can change. We will definitely feel the impact here if Kyler can sneak his way into the top 5 at the end of the year. If you guys want to see more, the article will be here. If you have any questions about it, if you have any questions about the Arizona Cardinals, ask them down below. Like this video here. If this video right here gets 150 likes, I will give away a month pass to Fantasy Team Advisors. On top of that, we will continue to do these throughout the summer. Halfway done with MLB DFS, which is wild to think about already. We're starting to climb that hill to get to fantasy football, and we love it here at Fantasy Team Advisors. So check it out. If you have any questions, you can always put them down below. You can email me, dfshelp1@gmail.com, and you can always hit our free Discord in the description of this video. Check the link. Completely free for you. We got fantasy football, we got baseball, we got DFS, we got NASCAR, we got PGA, we got MMA. We've got it for you. So let me know if you guys like this video. What more would you like to see in the upcoming teams coming forward? This article will also be linked down below. So have a fantastic rest of your summer. If this is the only video you see, there will be a full playlist of all of these recorded for you before you guys draft. Best Ball also opens, I believe, this week. We're very excited about Best Ball too. So good luck. And as always, whether or not you're playing DFS, fantasy football, season long, sports betting, have fun out there, but bring home that bacon. Peace.